We are on week 5 and today we are thinking about connecting. And I wonder, have you ever come across a screen that looks a little bit like this? Maybe you are trying to load up the next episode of a series you've really got into on Netflix. Maybe you're trying to connect with a friend over FaceTime. Maybe you are trying to log on or load up an online game and you are faced with that screen that says unable to connect. And it is infuriating, particularly if you've turned your Wi-Fi on and off again and you've tried rebooting the router and still you have no internet connection. I think sometimes it can feel a little bit like that when we think about sharing Jesus with our friends, when we think about mission. There are some people who we connect to really easily, and there are others who, when we say that we're a Christian, or if they find out that we've been to church, they automatically shut down. It's like there is no connection there at all. Some people just aren't interested, others are downright annoyed or angry because we would dare to share or talk about our personal faith. And you know, we looked at a story earlier on in this series in Luke chapter 10 verses 1 to 20 where Jesus sends out his 12 disciples. And we are going to look at that again tonight. Because in this, Jesus gives some really key tips about connecting with others and what our responsibility is in sharing our faith. You see, Jesus basically says to these disciples that when you enter a town or a village or you go to someone's house, he says to them, speak a blessing or offer a sign of peace to that household. And if they reject it, if they say no thanks, if they don't want anything to do with you, that's okay. Jesus says walk away. But if they accept it, Jesus says to stay with them, to chat with them, to eat with them. And I think sometimes we miss that. We feel like we somehow need to change our friends and family's hearts. We need to make them open to Jesus and to the Christian faith. But what Jesus says is still pray for everyone, still do relationship with everyone. It's not an excuse to stop praying for our friends or to stop taking opportunities to speak about Jesus. But it gives us the freedom to know we don't have to desperately keep trying to open up conversations. And it gives us the freedom to know if someone's really anti our faith, we don't need to keep trying to talk to them about it. Jesus says that is okay. Because ultimately, it is God's responsibility to change people's hearts. It's the Holy Spirit who transforms people's minds and their lives, not us. And so some people might say, pray for 5. We've got those 5 people we're praying for, but find the one person who is open to God, who is willing to ask questions and have conversations about God. Now, we might not speak a blessing or offer a sign of peace nowadays, but there are other questions we could ask to open conversations and see if people are interested. That might be, would you mind if I pray for you? That might be, what do you think about God or faith? Maybe it's, would you consider yourself spiritual, or have you ever had a spiritual experience? The other thing that we can do, which is great to see if people are open, is to tell stories and to tell our story. Jesus says this in Luke chapter 8, verses 38 and 39. Jesus says, the man who had been freed from the demons began to go with him, but Jesus sent him home saying, no, go back to your family and tell them everything God has done for you. So he went all through the town proclaiming the great things Jesus had done for him. You know, it's really important that we know our story and that we can tell our story. And we don't need to have all the answers. It doesn't need to be long or complicated. It can be simple and short. It can be focused on Jesus and it can be honest. But I want us to be prepared to share our stories if people ask and when we have the opportunity. And so one easy way that we can do that is to think about what was life or a particular situation like before we really experienced Jesus in that moment. What happened when maybe we encountered Jesus or he answered a prayer or we felt like he did something in our life? And what has the result of that been? Before, what happened, and what happened afterwards? Maybe that's how you became a Christian. Maybe that's a particular incident. But let's know our stories so that we can share them with those who are open.